welcome back to another Matilda Makes and another video in my Christmas series, which is one of 4 videos. And in those 4 videos I've been showing you how to make little Christmas crafts that you can gift or you could just make for yourself. Today I'm going to be making an apron, and I think an apron is a really great gift for so many people. It's really versatile. You could give it to your mum, your dad, sister, brother, you know, husband, wife, whoever. And it's something people can have for a really long time. But anyway, so we're going to be making one of those today. So what you're going to need is some fabric. I've chosen a nice linen. The reason I've chosen linen is, one, it hangs really nicely, it's got a really nice weight and texture and feel to it. I really love that. But also linen is much better for the environment than cotton. It uses less water in the production, and yeah, it's just a little bit better for the environment. So if you're wanting to be mindful of things like that, I would go for a linen over a cotton for this make. But of course, if you have cotton lying around and you want to use that, go ahead. You'll also need a sewing pattern. The one I'm using today on my website, which I'll link down below, you can print that off at home and you'll be able to follow along with the steps. So the first thing I'm going to do is just lay out my fabric. Yeah, I want to line my selvage up so that I have a nice, neat, this one's already been pressed in place, but a nice crisp fold. And I'm going to, quite a big pattern piece, because this apron just uses one. Is it going to fit? Yes, just about. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, this pattern just uses one piece, which will get sewn together. So line up the straight edge of your apron onto the fold and pin it all down. Over here. Okay, so now you just want to go along, check everything's lined up nicely. Okay, so now for the cutting out, I'm actually going to be using my pinking shears, and that's because I'm going to be using the seam allowance to turn over onto itself, and I'm hoping that this method's just going to stop the fabric from fraying too much. Okay, so here's our cut out apron, and what we're going to do first is to join up the straps. So to do that, we're just going to open the whole thing out like so, and we want these to be crossed over. So we're going to attach this one to this one. So I'm going to pin that in place. And already our apron is kind of taking shape. So now we're just going to sew those seams together. So let's get our sewing machine out. So first, sew your seam together with the right seam allowance. What we now want to do with this seam that we've just made, we want to trim one of the seam allowances and then encase the other one over the top. Let me show you. So we'll get our pinking shears again and just put it in between those seam allowances, and I'm going to cut one of the seam allowances in half, and then going to turn the seam allowance over the top till it meets the stitch line, and then I'm going to fold that whole seam allowance down and stitch along it. So you'll have on the right side, you'll have your seam line and then a row of stitching. So I'm going to iron that first in place in order to do that properly. You're just going to, where is it now? Lost it. Yeah, first just press your seam normally. Looking nice. And let's see it from the other side. Yeah, that looks good. Everything's caught and encased and looking lovely. So do that on both sides and then we'll move on to the next step. So those are sewn nicely and our apron is starting to really take shape as an apron. So our next and final thing to do is to hem all of the edges. That includes the neckline and all round the arms and the sides and the bottom. So you have a few options here. You could use 2 layers and turn it all inside out, almost like a lining, and encase everything inside. That's one option. Or the second option is to use a bias binding tape all the way around to give a nice neat finish. You could do that in the same material as the fabric you're using, or you could do a contrasting bias binding. I, however, am going to just be turning the hem over once and over twice and giving it a nice top stitch. Now this I'm really going to take my time with, and it's going to be the most time-consuming thing of the make, because if it goes wrong it's going to look really bad. So you want to be very precise. So what I'm going to do first is to press everything down really nice and neatly. So I'm going to get my iron out and start that off. So turn the apron so that the wrong side of your apron is facing up. And you firstly want to just turn it over once and press, and then we'll turn it over again and press. Just take your time, use your fingers to press, hold it down, and then press with just the tip of the iron. Okay, so I finished pressing and pinning. So the next and last thing to do, or one of the last things to do, is to now stitch all the way around, and you will be sewing continuously, and you should then get to where you started again, because it will just like loop round. And you can breathe again. Okay, oh no. Oh my goodness, that is so lucky. I just literally have just finished the bobbin just as I've got to the end. That is really, really lucky. Okay, so it's all done, all sewn. There are a few tricky bits on the sewing machine where you get kind of tangled up, but my best advice is just keep going, keep clearing your space on the sewing machine and keep pushing, like letting it go along, and you'll get there eventually. Okay, so we're very almost finished, and some of you maybe will be finished. This bit is total personal preference, and also this will depend on who you're making it for. The neckline, because it's multi-sex, is quite wide, so it will fit anybody. But if you want to, if you're slightly smaller framed, or the person you're giving it to is slightly smaller framed, then what you can do is put a little box pleat in at the centre front, so that the box pleat meets at the centre front, just like so. And you can, I think you can have it either way. You could have it so the box is on the outside, or the fold, the V is on the outside. So I think I'm going to do mine like so, and I'm just going to sew a line of stitching across there to hold it in place. So just pin it in place so nothing moves around. Okay, so just pop it gently under your machine foot, making sure nothing goes out of place. And if you can, match up the top stitching together, and that's where you're going to be wanting to sew from, over the top of, sorry. We're all done, and I'll show you in the next clip what it looks like on. I made the patterns for multiple sizes and genders, so it should fit lots of different sizes. However, if you feel that it doesn't fit for the person you want to give it to, or yourself, then you can really easily adjust. It's just such a basic pattern, you could really easily adjust it to lots of sizes. You could even make it very small for a child. So yeah, I really hope you give this one a go, and it would make a really lovely Christmas gift. Yeah, and I'll see you next time. Bye!